Hello guys, welcome to another tutorial video, and today I'm going to be showing how to mod valve covers or rocker covers into automation. Because that's been something that has been requested a lot actually. So I thought I'd share some of the things that I learned and how to do it. First of all, I do want to credit Tarazi for making this valve cover, and yeah, this is his test valve cover that he let me use for this tutorial, so shout out to him. Now, I added this mid-dynamic piece here to just show that you can also do something like this, that it's pretty simple. It's not properly placed though. Let me just fix that real quick. I'm also going to show how you can do something with a shape key, as you can see here. I will cover this later on in the video, so stay tuned for that if you want to know how to do that. But first, I'm just going to use this simple one. Now, first of all, to model the valve covers, you want to go down into the description where I provide a link to the rocker cover blend files that is used for the base game, and then you can just model over the covers. So as you can see, for example, this has the shape key that I had mentioned, and you can see it has several pieces. Now the overhead valve and the direct acting overhead cam are the easiest, as they have the least pieces to worry about. However, for example, the VTEC valve cover that I modeled over, basing it off this one, has multiple pieces. For example, it has a rear mid piece, and it also has a front mid piece, which I find quite weird. Yeah, you can obviously find those in the default set file. Now at this point of the tutorial video, you should have your model done. And to quickly make sure, another thing is that all of these have the origin to the center of the world. So let's quickly just double check that that's correct. So let's center that. And let's also properly unwrap this. So let's just go in the UV editing section and then cube projection. And this is very similar, or pretty much the same to how you would do fixtures. So just cube size 2, and it's correct. So you also want to make sure that you have your material slots correct. And there's 3 material slots you can use for rocker covers. You can use rocker cover, spelled like this. You can also use rocker cover trim, and you can also use bolts. I've used bolts for this oil filler cap. Certainly not the worst hack I've done in my tutorial videos. Anyway, so yeah, it's these 3 that you can use. Now, let's get started with getting our model into Unreal Engine. Now, let's select everything except this one, which we will get back to later in the video, and export this as an FBX. You want to make sure that your X is set to forward and your Z is set to up. As you smoothing to edge, apply modifiers and whatnot you have, and have selected objects. And then just export FBX. Now we're in the Real Engine part, so let's import everything. Set scale to mesh to false. Make sure that combine meshes is off. Import normals and tangents. Create new materials. And all of this should be pretty much correct. So let's import out. And we have everything here. Now let's make sure all of our materials are correct. Yep, and we can make our own materials, or we can just use the default materials. So let's save everything first, and let's delete these. And then replace it with machined metal. That should be fine. Then replace references. There, now everything has a nice metallic look to it. And I'm gonna quickly make a custom material here. You can search plenty of videos covering Unreal Engine materials, so I don't think I need to explain this part that much. And you want to make sure it works for BeamNG. I'm going to probably make a video on this alone, so do not worry. And apply it and save it. Now we have our material. And let's double check if everything is correct. Even this mid piece seems to be right. And now let's create our preview data file. So you want to go right click and then go to Camzo, and then you want to go down to rocker cover set. Now I'm gonna just name this tutorial cover just to be simple, and let's just name this. Now I'm just gonna name this something pretty simple, so just tutorial cover. You want to generate a GUID, and then you want to just set a year. I'm just gonna put the year 2000 just cuz. And now comes the part where we need to fill this section out with engine setups. Now it seems quite scary because there is a lot in here, but don't fear because it's really simple and you just need to change two things in here. Now the block type, the banks, the cylinders absolutely don't matter. However, the head type does matter, so just set the head type you want. Mine is overhead valve, and set the valve count per cylinder. Now as a side note, if your head type is something like single overhead cam or dual overhead cam, you do want to click on this arrow and then duplicate it, and then increase the valve count per cylinder. Otherwise your valve covers won't be able to be used on all setups, as you can see with some of the vanilla ones. So you don't want to do that. Anyway, we're going to delete this again, because we don't need to do that for our valve cover. And all of this you don't really need to know about. Now, you have set everything up, and the only thing left are these sections here. Now, unlike fixtures, you can't just drag and drop your mesh in here, because this takes in something different, which is an actor. Now, this is very different from Automation's normal workflow, but this is actually really useful because it lets you do so much more with the meshes, and it's a lot more powerful overall. Now, but most of you don't want to know about that and just want to get your valve covers in game. So let's have a look at a default valve cover. And here is a default rocker cover. And as you can see, it has these filled out with a front piece, mid dynamic, rear, front V, and then the box pieces as well. So we're going to do the same thing. Now I'm going to create a new folder with meshes and a new folder with blueprints. Now let's move all of these in here, and then we move on to the next part. So you want to right click and then add a blueprint class, and then just a actor. And then you just want to do this, and then create one for all of these that you see in here. There. Now we have all of our pieces. Now what we need to do is open all of these, and let's quickly save all of this. Now we're going to want to start placing our meshes in here, so let's go back to our meshes folder, and let's start placing our stuff in here. So let's start looking in here. So this is our front piece, so let's go over to our front piece and then just throw it in here. And there's a default scene route here, but you can just override it by just dragging and dropping it. I like to do that. You want to then press compile, and something quick to make life easier, so you don't need to keep pressing save like this, is to just go into this drop down menu, save on compile, and then on success only or always. I'm going to put this on success only, and then we can continue on to the next thing. So the boxer front, let's have a quick look. The front boxer piece is the right piece, and yeah, that happens to be properly named here. So let's do this, compile, close, next, and I'm gonna do this for the rest. There. Now I have done all of them. And now we just drag and drop all of these blueprints in here. Okay. And now we are done with our valve cover. So this is our regular one with a simple dynamic mid piece. And if a simple mid piece is what you want without any shape keys, and if you're happy with your result as of now, then you can just skip ahead to whatever timestamp is going to be on screen. If you want to go more in depth, then just stick around with the video, because that's what I'm going to be doing now. So first of all, let's go back into Blender, and I have another piece in here that's separate, and I'm just going to hide everything else from here. And what this is just the same thing, except it has two simple lines there that I added. It has a shape key. Now, this is a very basic shape key, of course you can see. And if you look at what the default valve cover does, it does the same thing. It ranges between a total length of 20 centimeters and 40. So that's what I just copied. And you just make a shape key called adjust length, and that's all you have to do. Then you just make a shape key like you would. Now let's go back to our own shape key, and now let's set the origin to the world origin, and there it is. Now the step for importing this into Unreal is going to be quite a bit different, so bear with me. Now go to export FBX, and it's pretty much the same as before, and then export it to another file, because you're gonna want to import this one differently. So make sure this is the only one you export, and it's gonna be dynamic advanced piece. I don't know. There we go. Now we have exported it, and let's close this for now. And let's go in here and make another folder. This is just to organize things. You don't need to do this. And I'm gonna call this skeletal mesh, because we're gonna have to import this as a skeletal mesh. Now let's just drag and drop this. And what you want to do is you want to press skeletal mesh, import content type, geometry only. You want to import morph targets, so make sure that is true, and just make sure your import settings are pretty much the same as they would normally be. Then you just want to go import it, and you have 3 files in here. That's correct. Now let's save all of this, and just go in here and make sure that your shape key indeed does work, as you can see here. And the rest you can just ignore. For example, the physics asset doesn't matter. Now, what you want to do, you can go back to your blueprints, and I'm going to make another blueprint, and I'm going to put this mid dynamic shape key. Now this one is going to have to be set up slightly differently. So you want to go to class settings, and then you see parent class over here. Now you want to reparent this blueprint, and you want to go to rocker cover decals. That is the one that you want to inherit. So just select that, and then you see a static mesh here instead. So make your way back to your skeletal mesh, and you want to drag your skeletal mesh to be under this. Make sure you don't override it. Now that's pretty much everything you have to do. And there we go. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this file. So I'm going to press Ctrl W. And I'm going to put a shape key here. Tutorial cover shape key. Now let's generate another GUID. I'm just going to call this advanced valve cover. Now all of our stuff is the same. Let's just change our mid dynamic piece. Let's clear that. Go into our blueprints and drag our new one in here. Now all of this is pretty much correct. Nothing has to be changed here. And at this point, you can now just export it. So let's click on share mod. And it's now completed packaging. Let's go over to our cooked folder, And let's go inside of the mods folder of that, and then just drag and drop it into the automation mods folder. If you don't have one, then you just create a new folder called mods with a capital M. Now you can just start up automation, and let's create a new engine. And there you can see already our valve cover showing. And we have completed image build, and you can see our 2 valve covers. So you can change the paint, of course, of this, and the trim. Add wrinkle paint, you can make it steel, you can even hide it if you want. Make it soft top. Any material. You can also change the fuel filler cap that we set to be the bolts. And now for the moment of truth to see if this worked, and yes, it did! As you can see, it works. If we switch to a larger engine, the length automatically changes thanks to those shape keys you put. It also works on these V engines and these boxer engines. So no matter how long you make it, these just adjust for that same length. And that's pretty much the tutorial. So I hope you enjoyed it, and good luck on making mods in the future, and I will see you next time. Bye!